Hey, I'm Chris. This is MMA for You. I'm going to be doing my post-fight analysis for UFC Fight Night 85. But before I get into that, I'd like to plug my own author's website at www.chrismoldong.com. I am an aspiring author specializing in the fantasy genre, and you can support my journey of being an author by buying my first novel, a fantasy adventure called The Mustard Prince in the Condiment Kingdom, for $8.95 at www.chrismoldong.com. Also, check out updated blogs, the Writer's Talk web series, which is me talking everything about writing, free short stories, and you can also buy stories for sale as well. Yeah, and this is card. Fun card. I believe the um, final five fights all ended in some sort of finish. Got some good finishes with Joban, Hooker. Um, a couple of fights that went to decision that weren't great. Some fights actually went to decision were pretty fun. Rawlings versus Ham, for example. I thought Pearson versus Laprice wasn't too bad either. Um, but yeah, bonuses. Hunt and Magny got performance of the night, while Matthews versus Case got fight of the night. Picks not too bad. 7 out of 12. Um, One of them, I mean, the Marcadiva one, I just picked him because he's Filipino. Honestly, I kind of thought Daniel Hooker would win. I think I said as much in my predictions. A couple upsets here. Daniel Kelly over Antonio Carlos Jr. That was a big surprise. I was just not expecting that whatsoever. More on that later. There were some pretty cool ones. Bosse over Tahuna was really cool. I pretty back and forth about Pearson beating the pre. I It's really tough to say who won that one. I can't help but 30-20. I don't know how some of the judging too is so questionable. There's 30-27s given out, and that had me scratching my head. The Rawlings fight, the Leslie Smith fight. Um, yeah, a lot of head scratching decisions. Australians, how'd they do? Let's see, Brown lost, Walsh lost, O'Reilly lost, Tahuna lost. Um, Hector Lombard will count him. So five Australian slash New Zealand fighters, or I'm counting Hector Lombard because I know he calls like that area. I forgot if it's Australia or New Zealand, like his home. But otherwise, like you got Hunt, Jake Matthews, he looked really good too, by the way. Daniel Kelly, super surprising there. Beck Rawlings won hers. Daniel Hooker won his. Okay. It didn't do too bad. Like five Aussie slash New Zealand fighters won. Okay, so let's get started. Mark Hunt defeated Frank Mir by knockout in the first round. Yeah, this is just a knockoff KO. What can you say? It was the coolest thing. Mir kind of ducked into. Well, he ducked, and then Hunt just throws this punch that hits him behind the ear, and that was it. And he just walks off. And people, some people are saying, "Oh no, he's just, it was too early." It's like, no, not really, because what happens is he walks off, and I guess Mir is looking at him when he gets knocked out, looking at his direction. But he's not actually following his direction when he's walking away. He's to his side, and he's still looking forward, like into space, more or less. What can I say about Mir? He's just getting older. He looks like he has a dad bod, like a total dad body. And he's not on TRT, Hunt is actually looking just as good as he always has. I don't know how else to say it. He actually seems to fight a bit smarter now, actually. I think his chin's probably not as good as it used to be, but, like, I think he's actually fought a bit. He's fighting a bit smarter, picking his shots, timing punches well, not just rushing in, and still hits super hard, still is deceptively fast. I don't know if he'll beat top five guys. Guys like Stipe are probably always going to beat him. I can always see Fabricio Verdum beating Hunt. That was actually a weird one because Hunt took a fight on short notice in Mexico against Verdum and managed to drop him twice. So that's actually a really um, interesting stylistic matchup if they ever have a rematch with Mark Hunt. I can see Hunt these days beating like Junior Dos Santos, or maybe even Overeem. So as far as who Hunt should get next, I mean, there's a lot to choose from. He can get the winner of Arlovsky versus Overeem. I'm guessing if Overeem wins that, he probably gets a title shot. The winner of Junior Dos Santos versus Ben Rothwell. He's fought both, beat Rothwell in elevation, and lost to Junior Dos Santos. I can actually see Hunt. See, the thing with Hunt is as awkward as Rothwell is, I don't think it actually works on Hunt very well because Hunt's probably one of the more. He still has a good chin, and he hits super hard. And I don't know if he'll be perplexed by like all of like Rothwell's stance switching and just like overall like he's just kind of awkward. I think Hunt can actually capitalize on the holes that he makes. And Dos Santos looks like he is just getting worse and worse. I don't expect him to beat Rothwell. I don't expect Junior Dos Santos to beat Rothwell. You can also go with the winner of Brown versus Velasquez. That'd actually be a really interesting fight, Hunt versus either of those guys, just because like he's never fought him, and Brown's really tall. Velasquez is a really good wrestler, but we don't know how Velasquez is gonna look after like you know. I don't know if his fight against Verdum shows that maybe he didn't have the cardio or what, you know. Um, with Mir, I'd say given the loser of Derek Lewis versus Gabriel Gonzaga, um, Mir versus Gonzaga kind of makes sense to me. But you can also get like a guy like a Derek Lewis, like see if he can't fight one of these higher level guys. Another guy that'd be good, I think Mir versus Ruslan Magomedov, I think would be an interesting fight. Um, Even though Magomedov's coming off a win and Mir's coming off two losses in a row now, Mir might also want to think about retirement too, but I think he's still going to hang in there. I can definitely. He's a guy. If you look at his record, like he's a guy that'll be like, wow, two, three, I think even four losses in a row. And it's like, dude, he's done. And then all of a sudden he gets like a two-fight win streak over like decent competition, and you're like, dude, what? Like, this is weird. Mir has a way of just bouncing back. Part of it's who they give him. Like, if they give him, like, mid-level guys that he can just beat up. But then, he'll get the surprising one. He beat Bigfoot when I didn't expect him to win. And Bigfoot looks terrible off TRT. And Todd Duffy, who has a lot of holes. But, he's a pretty bright young prospect. Hits hard. And Mir knocked him out. So, yeah. Next fight after that, Neil Magny defeated Hector Lombard by TKO in the third round. Wow, what a fight! This was I was watching that first round. I'm like, come on, Magny. It's like don't get if the ref called the fight off and called it a TKO, in the first round. In the first round, it's wouldn't be the worst thing. It actually wouldn't be the worst thing. Good that he kept it going. I guess he saw Magny. There's sometimes when Magny didn't seem like he was moving, and that he was just blocking with like one hand, but was blocking the way. But yeah, in that second round, I think that Magny should have definitely got the win in that second round, and what ref should have just called it off. Here's the thing: say what you will about Hector Lombard. This TRT or not, or like, whatever, PEDs or not, this is actually trademark Hector Lombard. Okay, if he goes 3 rounds and the fight actually goes 3 rounds, he starts strong and fades fast. I mean, even the fights he's winning, like against Berkman, I mean, he's like punching him, beating him up in the first round. And yeah, he's doing well in the second round. And the third round, he looks spent. I mean, he still wins, but sometimes he has to resort to lay and pray. The Jake Shields fight is another good example. He just beats him up in the first round and kind of laying praise on him in the next 2 rounds. I mean, this is, Pedro not. This is Hector Lombard in a nutshell. He is kind of a 1 round fighter. He just does not have good cardio. He fights in a way that wants to put people away early. And he really is just weather the early storm, and he got him because, man, in that third round especially, I mean that was the weakest looking takedown I've ever seen. Not really, but like and then Magny just goes to mount, and then it was over. It's really fun because Lombard, was working on almost finished Magny in the first, and then Magny kind of got in the second. The funny thing about that is, I believe the judges' scorecards actually show those as 10-9 rounds. It's crazy. I mean, it's crazy that they still. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter because Magny got the finish. It's still crazy to think that, like, those are clear 10-8 rounds. I mean, like, these are cases where I mean, Magny, I guess in the last minute managed to come back, but for the most part, I mean, he was almost finished, super badly damaged, and same with Lombard in the second. So, and the fact that the judges still gave those 10-9, yeah, that's just terrible. The reffing was also a bit questionable because, yeah, I think it was right to give Magny the chance in the first, but it was not right to give Lombard the chance in the second. I know I guess it's kind of fair in that, oh, you gave this guy a chance. I guess I got to give this guy a chance in that sense. But the fact of the matter is, Lombard was done. I mean, in the third round, it showed. You know, um, man, there's also a little subtle thing here. It's really implicit about cornering. The corners, cornermen of MMA, and it's like, okay, so you just saw your guy get beat down really bad in a previous round. This can apply to Weidman versus Rockhold too. You just saw him at the end of the round mounted, back mounted. He's just covering up. That's it. He's not doing much of anything. Getting pounded on. Goes back to his corner. And you let him fight more? I mean, I there's still, it's a culture thing too. There's still a culture in MMA of the corners not stopping the fight because fighters don't know what's best for them in the cage. Once that the cage door closes, I mean they're kind of different. They have a tunnel vision. They don't really have they're not in a situation of reason anyways. It's like, dude, it's like I knock this guy out or this guy knocks me out. I mean, you're not in a situation where you're really thinking too rationally, anyways. And then you're getting hit, your brain's getting rattled. It's like, yeah, you can't expect a fighter to know best in that type of duress, stress, and that type of like situation. Corner should know, hey, look, my guy just got beat down. I think it's done. And then what happens? Oh, he goes in the third round and just gets beat up more for another 46 seconds. It's like, okay, you could have saved him at least at 46 seconds, Lombard, at 46 seconds of getting beat up, So, it's a really implicit thing. You know, I don't know if that's ever changing soon. There's just some sort of culture about corners throwing in the towel when they probably should, but they don't for some weird reason. In MMA, boxing it's a little different, but MMA, no, With that said, I think the next suitable matchup for Neil Magny is probably Tyron Woodley at this point. Magny's on a three-fight win streak. In that win streak, he beat Gastelum, who was like top ranked. Who else he beat? He lost to Maya, and then he came back and beat someone whose name I forgot. I forgot who he beat. And then I know he beat Kelvin Gastelum, right? And then he just beat. Oh yeah, he beat Eric Silva, I believe. And then he beat like Lombard, who's also in the top 10. So Magny should be on his way to getting a title shot. I think Tyron Woodley versus Magny makes the most sense because both those guys are around that level where like, okay, maybe one, maybe two wins will get you a title shot. If not, there's like Dong Hyun Kim, there's Matt Brown. So yeah, it's good fights for Neil Magny. You can even go like Carlos Condit, Neil Magny. That'd be pretty interesting as well. Lombard, I'd say Lombard Gaslam makes some sense, or Lombard Johnny Hendricks. Both are coming off losses, so Gaslam coming off a loss to Magny, so that makes even more sense. Next, we'll have that Jake Matthews defeated Johnny Case by rear naked choke in the third round. I was watching this event with a friend, and he was saying, and it's actually something I kind of read. I read like some of the interviews these guys give before their fights, and Case was saying like, "Oh, I don't like Matthews," blah blah blah, something he said, right? And Matthews was actually saying like, "Okay, well, here's the thing with Johnny Case. He's really good everywhere, and he can strike well, he wrestles well, he's grapple well. Biggest thing with him is his confidence. So what we're gonna do? We're gonna get inside. We're gonna break it. He didn't. They actually go inside. They actually those body kicks and the overhands are really working for Matthews. And we're gonna break his confidence, right? And it's kind of cool because it's like, oh wow, you read that. You read that, and confidence is a huge thing in combat sports. I actually think a lot of the reason why Conor McGregor lost to Nate Diaz was due to Conor McGregor's confidence getting wilted down, knowing that he couldn't put this guy away. And I think it kind of showed here too that Case's confidence once he was getting hit hard, hit to the body a couple times. I think Matthews was really taking away Case's confidence. Uh, the other thing with Case is he kind of showed a lack of respect to Matthews. It's something me and my friend were noticing. It's like the way he was fighting, he's just so, and the commentators were kind of hinting at, were not hinting at it, but they're commenting on his poise during the fight. He's just kind of lackadaisical, like coming into cage. It just seemed like he was oozing with confidence to the point of almost a lack of respect for Matthews' offense, which is a big mistake. This was a really good showing from Jake Matthews, I gotta say. His last performance in a stand-up, I mean, the guy got head kicked. He was almost finished by like a journeyman fighter, pretty much. And to watch this fight, it's like his defense looked a little better. He was just fighting smart. He was successful with the body kick, so he kept attacking the body. That was really good. Managed to. He did get taken down. I think he got in bad position too. He got his back taken, right? But managed to defend takedowns pretty well. He's huge for the weight class, man. He can muscle out of things too. Um, Showed some good overhand rights. I was kind of down on Matthews' performance in his last fight. Now I'm back, in the bandwagon. I was pretty high on Matthews when coming in. This guy's so strong, young. He's only like 21. Good wrestler, super physical. I'm just super physical guy. Kind of a pressure fighter. Yeah, this is a really promising win for Matthews. And from a skill set analysis, um, he just looked good. He looked really good. He looked like he really improved upon certain aspects of his game. Showed good fight IQ too with those, seeing an opening like the body and constantly going for it. I want to say he hit him at least like five good shots of 5, 6 good shots to Case's body, and like there's at least 2 or 3 where Case visibly showed that he was kind of kneeling over, and affected by those body strikes. So good on Matthews. I'm definitely, like I said, I was kind of down on him, not because he lost to Vic. That's fine to losing to James Vick. It's it's the opponent after that whose name just I think he's a Mexican fighter, and name totally escapes me. But it's just he looked pretty bad defensively. That's the thing that I was not very fond of with Matthews in his last fight. But this fight looked pretty good. I gotta admit, he made some real improvements here. With that said, Matthews, I'd like to see him actually get Ross Pearson next. Ross Pearson's good. Give him a good gatekeeper. Ross Pearson, one of those Brazilian ones, dude. Leonardo Santos, Leandro Silva, you know, is it Thiago Trato or no? I forgot his name. Um, there's like huge Brazilian guys. Not T-Val, maybe even Massaranduba, who's doing pretty well versus Matthews. Give him guys like that. Case is actually in a weird situation because like he's young, but like I don't really know if you can call him a prospect anymore. He's been fighting for a while now, and he has a lot of fights under his belt. So he might just be like kind of in the prime of his career at this point. I don't know if we're gonna see huge improvement from him here on out. He's already pretty well rounded. He's a good wrestler. He's got good ground and pound. He's got on the ground. His stand up solid but not spectacular. I don't really know what other. I don't know if he's gonna make any more big jumps as far as improvement goes. Um, we'll see. He's training with Power MMA these days. Like I said, this was fight on night. It was a good fight. It was a real solid fight, really well matched. If I'm not mistaken, too, I think Case may have actually been ahead on the scorecards coming into the third round. So, had Case survived that third round, he may have won. So, we could definitely be talking about a different outcome. You know, if Case managed to survive another, you know, well, I think it was early in the round. I forgot what part of the round it was. But Case, he should still fight like mid, mid-level guys. He's definitely shown that he can beat a good amount of mid-level guys of division. Next fight after that, Daniel Kelly defeated Antonio Carlos Jr. by TK in the third round. This was the biggest upset on the night, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe Kelly coming in the third was beat down on the scorecards. He really turned it on in the third round. Kelly's been quite a surprise in the UFC. I think most expected Carlos Jr. to beat Kelly quite handily. And actually, that first round kind of showed it, and even parts of the second round. I mean, Carlos Jr. seemed like the better athlete, the better striker, the better Brazilian Jiu Jitsu practitioner, or at least submission grappler. Um, but maybe you can count this as something of a prospect loss for Carlos Jr. because he fought a tough guy. That's if Kelly. I mean, he's got the judo. He's not a pretty striker, but he's real tough. I mean, he's big. He's in your face. He's super game. He's just really tough. And for a guy like Carlos Jr., who just who's young in the sport, can't put a guy away, no matter getting some great positions, getting some great strikes on him. Just couldn't put him away. He got a little sloppier. Seems like he kind of burned out a bit, and he was fading fast. You know, like I said, getting sloppier in his stand up, lunging in a lot more. You can tell he's still very much a young, pretty young in the sport. Like that's the thing. It's there's holes in his game. He definitely lacks patience at this point, and when he gets a bit rattled, he seems to really overextend on his punches. And overall striking, he just gets sloppier as the fights progress. That's something that can probably be fixed with time. Because middleweight definitely has those guys that just they don't always have the best guys. They have a lot of Daniel Kelly types. Tough, but that's the thing. There's a lot of not there's a good amount of Daniel Kelly types that are just tough guys, won't go away right away, and make it hard for young prospects. That's one thing that middleweight might be lacking, like really good blue chip prospects, fighters that truly excel at one area of MMA, but they don't really lack tough fighters. I can see a guy like a Sam Alvey, tough guy, good chin, possibly doing the same thing, eating some strikes, possibly, maybe gets knocked out, I don't know, if he has as good of a chin as Kelly, but then frustrating Carlos Jr. and then, turning it on the third. I can see a guy like that do that to Carlos Jr. possibly, for some reason I can't name others at this point. Nonetheless, Kelly's actually something on a win streak. Last time he lost was against Sam Alvey, actually. Got knocked out. I guess he just should fight more mid. The problem is, if you fight more mid-level guys in middleweight, it's one of those cases where, like, any middle of the pack middleweight can lose to another middle of the pack middleweight at any given night. It's like Kelly can lose to Sam Alvey, but Sam Alvey can lose to Rafael Natal. I don't know. I'm just kind of throwing the name out there. I don't know if he's maybe beat him too. Who can lose to Natal can lose to Ed Herman, who's now in like 205, who he loses to Sam Alvey. Or no, he loses to, whoever. So, I don't know. I think Kelly's kind of in that rotation, to be honest with you. If not, go with, like, if you want to test more prospects, Omanuel Bamboshe maybe against Kelly would be pretty cool. Carlos Jr. should just fight more like mid-level middleweights at this point. I think he can beat a majority of them, to be honest with you. Next fight after that, Steve Bosse defeated James Tahuna by knockout, 52 seconds first round. Not much to say. I think Tahuna should probably consider retiring. I think he's probably going to get cut. What is this, like 3 or 4 or 5 losses in a row now? Something like that. All by finish. So, all by brutal finish, too. Even, like, losing the armbar to Nate Marquardt, Brutal finish by, like, Shogun. Now I got finished by Steve Bosse. I think Bosse is pretty much gonna, if he sticks with the UFC, this is his role. He's just gonna be a fun action fighter. That's who you should probably give him. It's more action fighters out there, really. And like I said, with Tahuna, should probably just consider retiring at this point. He gets finished, and finished badly, too. Next right after that, Beck Rawlings defeated Siu Ham by unanimous decision. I do not agree with those 30-27s whatsoever. I don't know what was going on with that. I did give Beck Rawlings 29-28. I do know that some gave Siu Ham the fight. I felt that Rawlings. This was a good fight. This is actually a pretty fun fight. I liked the skill that I saw from both. Considering that these are lower mid tier strawweights, it's a really good sign of the division that they're fighting for. Like, wow, these are only like the middle of the pack. I mean, they fight pretty good. They have some skill. Everywhere. You see him going for like a triangle choke, right? Yeah, she went for a triangle choke. Um, and Bag Rawlings isn't someone I actually think of as like having being a skilled fighter, but she made some improvements here. I gotta say, her head movement was really good. She was slipping and ducking real good here. There's sometimes like Hum would throw and then like Rawlings would just duck under, and I was just like, wow, that's really good stuff. Real back and forth fight. I like Hom's counter striking. She'll find that left hand. She'll slip, block, or and find that left hand. They're fighting for to step on the outside of the lead foot because they're in opposite stances. So it was really good. There was definitely a story in the fight as well about how everyone wanted to get their cross in, and they were doing different things like fighting the lead hand in order to get it and whatnot. Um, One of the biggest problems with Rawlings is that she did fade in that third round. She is definitely like leaning against Ham against a fence in that third round. But yeah, it's a good showing. I thought Siu Ham took. I think it was the second round that I think she took. I gave Rawlings rounds 1 and 3. I felt that Rawlings was definitely the harder. Was hitting a lot harder. And while Ham was evading a good amount of strikes, she was eating some too. And Rawlings the same. She was evading strikes too. She was slipping and ducking under. But she'd take a couple strikes. The biggest problem with Ham is that she is a striker. Or like, yeah, yeah, she mainly strikes with her opponent. Um, or from what we see in the UFC, at least. But she doesn't. She just does not have power for a division. I mean, she just does not have it. She's small for the weight class. That was actually something of a footnote of the women's fights here. It's like you have this Asian fighter who's really small versus this much bigger. Um, in this case, this Aussie fighter against a much bigger fighter or noticeably bigger fighter. Um, with that said, though, Rawlings, I would say this is still women's strawweight. You don't necessarily have to give her someone coming off a win. I'd like to actually see Rawlings versus Ronda Marcos. I think that would be pretty cool. Rawlings versus Felice Herrig would work too. Um, Rawlings versus the winner of Sanchiu versus Moroz would work. If you want to give Rawlings like a big step up in competition, you go with Juliana Lima. She has no opponent. No, she was supposed to fight Jessica Aguilar. Um, that would work. Siu Ham, she can fight like a Felice Herrig. Maybe the loser of Sanchu versus Moroz. There's a lot of fights here. There's some strawweights that just haven't fought in a long time. That I kind of wonder what happened to them, type of deal. Excuse me. Okay. On the FS1 prelims, Alan Jobon defeated Brendan O'Reilly by TKO in the first round. Yeah, this fight kind of just went out exactly how I thought it would. Um, yeah, I mean, really, it's like Jomon would just be the better striker pretty much at any range, you know? O'Reilly's just, he's not much of a striker at all. In the clinch, Jobon's knees and elbows are deadly. He knocked out Richard Walsh with in clinch strikes, if I'm not mistaken. And even at range, he's a better striker too. So grappling wise, I mean, yeah, Brendan Riley arguably is probably the better wrestler, but he couldn't keep Jovan down. Jovan's not defenseless on the ground either. So yeah, with Jovan, just more. He should just have more action fights, really. Um, there's gonna have a point with Jovan though, where like he kind of like when he fought Tumanov, I mean, he just got crushed. And even in fights against like Alves, where I thought he should have won, but like even like Matt Dwyer, it's just kind of like with Jovan, it's like you kind of lose the first round against a guy that's like mid-level at best. But at this point, yeah, he's just kind of a fun action fighter. Can't really speak to names. Hey, how about like Nordine Taleb versus Alan Joban? I think that'd be a pretty cool fight. Brendan O'Reilly, so what, 2 losses in a row now? He doesn't have a role in the UFC, really. I guess he's the Aussie fighter that you can just feed to some guy who needs a comeback fight, I suppose. I mean, I'm sorry to say, I don't think very. I don't. Like, he's that guy who he seems to try really hard, but he just doesn't have the skill to match his effort, really. Um, but yeah, if he's still there, just more lower level fighters of the division. Despite of that, Dan Hooker defeated Mark Adiva by guillotine in the first round. Yeah, I picked Mark Adiva just because he's Filipino. Honestly, I was telling my buddy I was watching the fight with. I was like, yeah, I picked Adiva to win. I totally think Dan Hooker's gonna win it. I hate to hedge like that, but I think, like I said as much in my predictions too, so it's not inconsistent with what I was saying. Um, yeah, Hooker, tough, tall, not the quickest guy, not the best athlete, but well rounded enough. Super long arms. Like when he was sliding in that guillotine, yeah, that was it. Yeah, Diva, he didn't need to wrestle. I mean, there's sometimes when he wrestles, his takedown defense is actually pretty solid. His offensive takedown ability isn't too bad, but in the UFC, you know, it's just if you're primarily a striker, that doesn't mean that you have to wrestle just because. And that was the problem with Markadiva. It's kind of like, okay, hey, you're doing okay standing. Why did you try and go for a takedown? And then he got guillotined for his troubles. He's probably gonna get cut now. 3-fight losing streak. Just got finished here. Which is unfortunate. I think Markadiva's better than he's probably shown. He's got some pretty tough matchups. I mean, his first fight, he beat, what, Juma Bektishian, right? And then he gets Kevin Souza. It's like, dude, he just gave him, like, the super tall, one of the hardest hitting featherweights out there. And then he gave him, what, Levon Machiavelli, who's one of the better wrestlers of the division. And then, I get, I guess there aren't too many, softballs you can really give Mark Diva. I mean, like, Dan Hooker he's solid, but not spectacular. So I don't know if this was considered a soft, it's not, but he's not a softball. Um, but yeah, they just kept getting Mark Diva like the toughest dudes. Like, I don't know what it is. So yeah, he's probably cut. Like I said, I think he's actually a pretty good fighter. Dan Hooker, you know, he gets to. I wouldn't really call him a prospect. I think he's still young, but I don't really. I don't know if I can really call him a prospect at this point. And his upward mobility. I mean, at most, he's gonna be a fun action fighter at this point. Really, I like him. I think that he's a solid fighter, tough out. He's just one of the toughest outs for like prospects and whatnot. So he's just getting more like mid-level guys of the division. Next round of that, Leslie Smith defeated Ren Nakai by unanimous decision. Don't agree with that 30-27. I know some people actually gave the fight to Nakai. I did not. Here's one thing about Ren Nakai, and it's really funny. Like, she is the most awkward striker. She is 5'1". I mean, she would be a short strawweight. Okay, she looks like it looks funny almost when she fights at bantamweight because every opponent's like significantly taller than her, and just like yeah, just significantly taller. It always looks like two two different weight classes. Um, One thing about Nakai though is, as infamous as she is, she's not that bad. I mean, she is a terrible striker. She has terrible footwork. I'll give you that much. But what she's good at, it's really sneaky. She actually has a lot of tricks up her sleeve. When she's inside, I mean, she'll take the there's some things that she was doing once she like managed to like get the body lock, and then she'd transition to like, or she'd get like the front headlock, take the back, and it's like, get the trip, and it's like she's actually, once she's inside and able to get a hold of her opponent, she's pretty tough. I gotta say, she's hard to shuck off. She's got a couple tricks, to take opponents down, especially with trips and whatnot. She is strong, like really strong. She's really good on top. She has a good inclination to take the back too. Nakai does. One of the problems I noticed is like she just seems to have a hard time keeping opponents down with the side, being the smaller fighter. And that's the thing. It looked like Smith had a relatively easy time getting back to her feet. At some points of the fight, she just couldn't be held down. Um, Smith was pretty sneaky too. I remember there was that arm triangle that she got out of. That was pretty neat. Neat escape there. She's fighting good at range. Hit some good uppercuts and whatnot. Defended takedowns actually pretty well, all things considered. Um, yeah, this was actually a. There's some parts of the fight that kind of sucked, and then some parts of the fight that are like, hey, this is actually pretty good, pretty skilled too. Nakai should cut down to 115. I don't know if she can, but she should. Like, honestly, if there was a 125-pound division, she should cut to that. Honestly, at 5'1", I think it's possible. She had to lose some muscle mass because, really, it's a lot of weight to cut too. You're talking a 20-pound weight cut from an already like it's one thing to cut from 205 to 185, but it's another thing to do like 135 to 115. That is a tough weight cut. That guy should do it, and I think she could actually find success at 115 if she can make it and perform well. With Leslie Smith, keeps her in the UFC. She's a fun fighter. She get like a Marion Renault. She's coming off a loss actually, but that's fine. I thought she should have won that fight against Ashley Evans Smith. Smith can also get Ashley Evans Smith. Or someone else coming off one. Lauren Murphy versus Leslie Smith would be pretty cool too. Next fight after that, Viscardi Andrade defeated Richard Walsh by unanimous decision. I was actually fine with this decision. I know some disagreed because Andrade mainly just got takedowns and control with very little ground and pound. It really were the takedowns that saved Andrade. I mean, there was a point where he got dropped. He just kind of throws these winging overhands. It's kind of what I expected from the fight, even though like I had a hard time choosing the fight. I expected it in the sense that I figured Walsh would be the better striker, and he was. Well, Andrade should throw like winging punches and go for takedowns. I mean, that's kind of his thing. And moving forward, that's kind of what I see from both these guys. I mean, it's just what you saw here is pretty much what you got. I think Walsh has some chance to improve, though. He's actually still pretty young. He's not a great athlete, though, but he's a solid striker, has some pop in his strikes. Good Muay Thai, you know. Um, yeah, I actually hope that Richard Walsh doesn't get cut, but because he could top out as something of a fun action fighter. Andrade does enough to stay in there. Really, it's just he's strong. His cardio isn't that good. Part of it is because he does not fight economically. The way he strikes wastes a lot of energy. Lunging overhand strikes aren't good, efficient strikes unless you get the knockout. Um, but yeah, his takedown ability. He has some skill there. A lot of it's strength too, and he knows how to stay on top when he needs to. Um, so yeah, just more like lower to mid tier guys at division for both. Okay, on the Fight Pass prelims, Ross Pearson defeated Chad Lepre by split decision. Yeah, honest truth, this could have gone either way. Kind of thought that Lepre got that, to be honest with you. It could have gone either way, though. And this continues. Ross Pearson, win, lose, win, lose, win, lose. I mean, it's like, look at his record. It's like win, lose, win, lose, win, lose. This fight was fun in that, like, it started out as something of a outside striking battle, and it seemed kind of like a glorified sparring match. And as the fight wore on, it was getting better. It got better as the fight wore on. But it wasn't a bad fight. Good skill. I like that Lepre. He moves pretty well. Strikes at range. He's real technical. Pearson, though, he has a really good left hook. He's been there before. It's a decent kick game now too. So yeah, good one for Pearson. He'll just probably get who's he's been getting. More mid-level guys, probably more prospects and whatnot. But Chad Lepre, it is 2 losses in a row for him. Um, I I would assume that the UFC keeps him, but you know they definitely have to match him up with like a low or mid-level guy next time out. And finally, Alan Patrick defeated Damian Brown by unanimous decision. Really, the story was the fight of Patrick being able to get constant takedowns on Brown, got some ground and pound and whatnot. Um, Patrick's interesting. I think what the way he was defined was like really good athlete, but not the most. It's not that he's a bad fighter. He's just not an efficient fighter. Standing, he'll go for some crazy moves. It seems like he makes the fight a little harder on himself than it needs to be, I guess. It kind of seemed like he could have probably got more dominant positions. I got the impression that Petri could have probably finished it on the ground, maybe with strikes, um, if he wanted to. It kind of seems like he seemed a little content to kind of just coast here when I think that he didn't necessarily need to. Damon Brown, I mean, dude, the guy took the fight on really short notice. There's really not much I can say about him. Probably just get another fight in the UFC. Alan Patrick, it's more like lower to mid-level guys in the division. So yeah, that's pretty much it for my post-fight analysis for UFC Fight Night 85. If you have any questions, just leave them below. And please support my journey of being an author by buying The Mustard Prince in the Convict Kingdom for $8.95 at www.chrismoldon.com. So that's it for MMA for you. Thank you guys very much.